International caps, an international goal, a European Cup, 2 league championships and a League Cup. The story of Peter Withe is an incredible one from such humble background, and yet his managerial career was just as extraordinary. In part 4 coming up, the story of Far East success on an unprecedented level for an English manager, the Peter Withe story on YouTube after this. Villa in 1984 for Sheffield United.
85.
85, yes. Okay. So, and you call it the biggest wrench of your career. I suppose at that point with Sheffield United, and I think you returned obviously to Villa as an assistant manager under Dr. Joseph Venglosh after a short time as Wimbledon manager in the Premier League.
No, it was before that actually. What I did was I went to Huddersfield as assistant manager.
Right.
And then I came to Villa as assistant manager.
And then took the Wimbledon job.
And then I took the Wimbledon job after that.
Right. And obviously you were hoping for a top flight career. But again, with parallels to your playing career, off you went to the Far East.
Yes.
And actually was a very successful coach out in Thailand and Indonesia.
Well, what happened was that people say to me, do you think it was a mistake taking the Wimbledon job? Well, in hindsight, everyone, because of what happened, yes, you'd say that, but it wasn't at that time. I was reserve team coach and I had an offer to go to a first division team as manager. Why would you turn it down? Don't matter to me. I thought, there's an opportunity there and I would take that opportunity. And then I left the club. It's ironic, really, that I went to Wimbledon, left Wimbledon, and then worked for the PFA for a number of years, but then went back to Villa.
Yes.
And spent another 3 or 4 years at Villa. Actually played my last competitive game, I played in the reserves for Aston Villa as a centre-half. So I used to say...
We're all good centre-forwards anyway.
Yes, we do, because we can read the game a little bit better.
It's
but you're right.
Position in some ways in terms of physique, isn't it? Centre-half and centre-forward.
Well, because I played centre-forward, I knew about the centre-forward, where he wanted to be, so I knew what I had to do to mark him. But I had an opportunity to go and coach a national team. I didn't know which national team. I was just told it was a national team in Asia. And I had an opportunity, and I thought to myself, no, I'll go and I'll go at this. And as I say, my wife has been all over the world with me and never really complained and never said, no, we're not going there. And of course we ended up, it was funny because we ended up there with a 3-month contract that went to 6 months, that went to 12 months, that went to 2 years, went to 3 years, to go to 5 years. I mean, people were getting sacked left, right and centre in Asia, as they do. But when I took over, they were in the hundreds in the FIFA ranking, and I got them up to 43. At one stage, we were higher than Portugal.
Wow.
That takes some doing.
That's some doing. And they, of course, they are the European champions, Peter.
Yeah.
On that issue of Thailand, you won the Asian Continental Cup twice.
Yes.
And I'm presuming because you went into a continent, stamped your English football values in an area which had, coaches who weren't in your experience or your style. You got the players to buy into your experience and your football. You must be quite famous in Thailand still.
Yeah, it's ironic really that when my children used to come out to visit me, and you talk about walking around Birmingham or walking around Portland in Portland, Oregon. I went to Portland, Oregon, and no one really recognises me in Portland, Oregon, unless they see me on television or something like that. If I walk around in Bangkok to this day, guaranteed that everyone would stop me on the street, even to this day. Because, and my boys used to say to me, you're more famous in Thailand than what you are back home. And I says, well, probably because of what I achieved here, the most successful coach that they've had.
Yes.
As I say, there's not many coaches who last 5 years, and I managed to last 5 years there. But the only reason I lasted 5 years because we were successful.
Yes.
You know, we won things. We got up the FIFA ranking. We got to the World Cup qualifiers, the last 10, which they'd never achieved in their history. And we were quite close to qualifying for the World Cup. I think if I would have stayed on, we would have qualified for the World Cup.
Peter, as you look back at your managerial and playing career, is it the European Cup that's the pinnacle moment? Is it a championship winner's medal? Is it something unusual, perhaps in the beginning of your career, that stands out as your greatest highlight?
Fortunate enough, people ask me the same question. They ask me about what is the pinnacle. I've had many pinnacles. I've had loads of downs. Yeah. You know, people think that it's always, and I say this to young players, and I say this to a lot of players as a coach and a manager. I say to them, football is all about climbing the ladder. So you start at the bottom rung of the ladder and you climb up the ladder, and then all of a sudden something happens and you start to fall down the ladder. Now the best people, the ones who are going to be the best ones, will stop themselves falling, and then they'll start climbing again. And then you're going to have a few hiccups along the way, but you just keep climbing the ladder. So they said to me, well, how big's the ladder? I said, unfortunately, it's never ending.
Yes.
And it isn't, it's never ended ladder, because if you climb to the top of the ladder, that's the time to pack in.
And it was something you said, I read this morning, I saw something from Shoot magazine when you were just signed for Villa, about what you hoped to achieve for the future. You'd won a championship winner's medal with Forest. You were going into a season which would produce, again, unbelievable success and unprecedented success the year before. But again, something you wrote in there about you were looking forward to England recognition. And I think you'd, by that time, only played once for England, but there were another 10 caps to follow. Under Ron Greenwood, now then at Villa.
It's ironic, really, that I was probably playing my best football at Nottingham Forest, and the manager at the time was Brian Clough, and the manager of England at the time was a certain Don Revie. And I remember reading an article in a paper saying the best signing of the year is Peter Withe at Nottingham Forest. And there was rumours flying around at the time that I was going to get my first England cap because I was scoring goals. That was when we were winning the championship, and it never materialised. And I was always thinking to myself, why? You know, because I was looking at the players that were playing, and I'm thinking, I'm leading goal scorer, we're winning the championship. Why didn't they? And then when you see all the articles about Don Revie and Brian Clough not liking one another, and it was always on recommendations in them days from managers to, you know, the England manager. So I look back and think to myself, never asked him the question, but I'm sure that was one of the reasons why I didn't get capped at that time. So I didn't get my first cap until 29. We won the championship. I always remember Ron Saunders called me in the office and he said to me, how would you like to play another game? And I thought, playing the testimonial game, because we were all going to America for a trip. And I thought, testimony. He said, I've insisted that you have to play with Kevin Keegan now. I'm thinking, what's he on about? So he said to me, you're going to play for England. And they're playing Brazil in the friendly at Wembley Stadium. And I thought, Brazil, you know, one of the teams that I used to idolise really as a kid, all the passing and the way that they played. So I was really thinking to myself, first England cap, 29 years old. So, and then it's ironic really that I had 11 international caps, but I was involved in the team for over four and a half years.
Okay. Yes.
So it was, although I got 11 caps, I was on the bench for a lot of the games. I was on the bench for the World Cup in 1982, disappointed that I never got on. But, you know, we had a team, and that was ironic really, we had a team in 82, we should have won the World Cup in 82. I thought we had a team, all right, we had injuries, Kevin got injured and Trevor Brooken got injured, but we had a squad of players that could have won that World Cup, and it was disappointing because we never lost a game in the World Cup.
And I think football fans of the next generation would think that about Euro 2004, even Euro 96 as well, of course, so close to so many shoulda, coulda, wouldas about England, but not about your career, Peter. It's been an absolute privilege for this Aston Villa fan to meet and talk to you for so long.
Well, don't forget, it's all in the book.
It's all in the book, ladies and gentlemen. Peter Withe's autobiography with Simon Goodyear. and Goodyear books. One final question.
Go on then.
Ron Saunders or Brian Clough?
I don't think you can split them because they were different. I think that people say to me, was he better? I always remember, was it last year that Ranieri, when he won with Leicester, and everyone said, oh, he should be knighted. And I remember seeing that article, and I put it on Facebook and Twitter, and I said, I'm not being funny, but one of the greatest managers in the history of football who won 2 championships with provincial teams, won the European Cup twice, defended it, and they couldn't knight him. To me, that's who should be knighted, Brian Clough, no one else. And I think that what Ron Saunders had achieved with regards to clubs that he'd been, even when he was at Norwich, won the League Cup in Norwich, and done things at Aston Villa, like won the Championship 71 years. But they're different. They were totally different managers. They wouldn't be. You couldn't say, well, he was better because of this, or he was. I think that they were unique in the way that they managed, and I think they were very. You look at successful managers, and certainly the two of them were very unique and very forthright in what they wanted.
Peter, thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
All right.
Takeaways from my interview with Peter Withe is the fact that despite career setbacks, he always attempted to attain the level where he left off. So through great adversity and a willingness to travel around the world in the name of football, Peter achieved astonishing heights, both here in the United States, in South Africa, and of course here in England. I've seen some of his great photos. They'll be published in an autobiography which has been written by Simon Goodyear, a great Christmas present if you're an Aston Villa fan, a Nottingham Forest fan, a Newcastle United supporter, even Wolves and Birmingham, or Arcadia Shepherds. You should buy the Peter Withe story. He is famous in Bangkok as well for footballing reasons. How many Englishmen can say that? The Peter Withe story, a 4-part here on YouTube. I'm Jonny Gould. It's been my absolute privilege and pleasure to sit down and talk football with Peter Withe.